When we thought of the name for our podcast, it was because we are so much more than just mothers. Today's guest is the perfect example of that. She's a mom, educator, all while keeping us laughing on social media.
We read the books, we bought the things. We thought we were ready. And then life took our plans and changed them. I'm Karen, I'm Victoria's mommy, and I work in tech.
And I'm Pamela. I have a baby boy named Ford, and I'm a journalist. And although we're both first-time working moms, we're actually pretty different.
And that's totally okay. Because we both agree that our most important work is raising our kids. We really need each other and can only get through this together. Welcome to Motherish Moments.
Good morning.
We had an IG crush on our guest today. So
Yes,
we're
I'm
excited
super excited. I'm super excited because also I was like, I reached out to her for like a work thing too.
I
but
reached
then
out to her too.
Oh my God, stop. Are you serious?
I DM'd her. I'm like, do you know any tutors in Spanish?
So basically, which she's
"Oh,
gonna
yeah,
be
look
like,
into
you
it."
guys slid into my DMs, hello, and now I'm here, and it's a trap. Like,
And you know what I love too? When I think someone yesterday was like, oh, I love this girl. I'm like, oh my God, we just booked her. She's on Motherish. I was excited.
oh, this is fun.
So before we introduce Betty, why don't we start with our motherish moment of the week?
Sure. So my motherish moment with Victoria is, I'm just here adapting to her personality. I'm basically a victim at this point. She just has been so, I feel like she's grown up like so much in such a short period of time. And she's got kind of like an answer for everything. And a part of me wants to like be like, calm down. But also I don't want to kill her vibe and her spunk and her this is where you have to separate like your childhood, or not your childhood, but like your own areas that you need to work on, like the stuff that I work on with Fatima, my therapist, the MVP of this podcast. Like the stuff that I work on with her about like just communicating more and not being afraid to say what you feel. Victoria doesn't have any of those issues at all. Obviously she's like brand new. But a part of me, like I think about those things because she'll just be very like, I don't like the way this feels, or this makes me sad, or this makes me frustrated. And sometimes I want to be like, but I'm like, that's so healthy. Okay, even though
By the way, now that you
hard for
mentioned
me to
therapists
digest.
and being a child, a therapist recommended that I put a child picture of yourself on your phone. Because then a lot of the things that you have now, you didn't have when you were a child. Like no one, all those things were imposed for whatever, some reason or trauma. So if you keep a reminder of yourself, like, okay, what would little Karen like?
Oh, damn, Pamela.
I know. So you should put little Karen on your phone.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, it's just so, I just feel like we spiral so much sometimes as moms, and we're like, how do I, especially now, like raising our kids in like 2025, it's like we think about so many different things, and like sometimes we overanalyze too, and we gotta like reel it in and be like, you know what? We're gonna mess up no matter what. So,
Even though my mom always says, yo nunca hice nada de eso. And I'm like, okay, then exactly.
and you're like, exhibit A. Like,
But
okay, anyway, that's
my
where I'm at.
mother's moment was, so last week one of the moms couldn't make mystery reader, and I for some reason hadn't signed up to be a mystery reader this year. So I was like, I'll take it. So I took it and I went into Ford's classroom to surprise him. First of all, they love when you go into their room. It's the
I
cutest
haven't been
thing.
able. Well, I did it one time last year, but it doesn't count. It wasn't real elementary school.
Why didn't you do it this year?
Because I don't know. They haven't done it. They don't do it. They don't. I don't know. I tried
talk
to
to
be
your
a
mom.
chaperone.
Talk to
This is
your
a
mom.
chaperone. I tried to be a chaperone. I tried to be a chaperone for her field trip, and they were already booked. And I was like, well, she's like, I can put you on the waiting list for the next field trip. And I was like, there's a waiting list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I walked in and he was so surprised and he was so sweet. He's like, that's her name. He's like, oh, Ford's mommy. And like all the kids are so, because all the kids know you as Ford's mom, right? You're not, they don't even know your name.
Yeah.
And then, I always talk to Ford in Spanish, and I guess the other children, hadn't heard me speaking Spanish, like, I guess interacting with my son. And they're like, wait a minute. And then one of the other kids was like, Ford, ¿tú hablas español? And Ford goes, uno, dos, tres. Like he was like, yeah, uno, dos, tres. In my mind, I'm like, oh my God, he needs to speak more Spanish. That's like my goal for 2025.
Well, I know our guest can
So
help us.
I'm happy that Betty's here today with us today. So why don't we have Betty, before we introduce you, share your mother's moment. You have how many children?
Three.
Okay.
Three, yeah. So I guess my motherish moment with three, if I had to pick one, is my daughter, the toddler. My husband's Dominican, I'm Cuban Argentinian, and my husband has her super into dembow. And so she likes dembow music, and I'm always trying to play Bad Bunny, and she's always asking for his songs. But lately, she's been asking for Bad Bunny in the car. So
Well,
I
you know,
think that
I think
was
Bad Bunny did a little dembo, like
yeah,
put
and
a
he
little.
has his
Yes.
both songs, like with El Alfa and whatnot. But lately, in the last week, she's been asking for more Bad Bunny in the car, and I just feel like that's a win. And I'm like, more me this week, more than dad. Yes, I'm winning. I finally, because I don't know if your kids have taken over your radio in the car. I know my kids have. So that's one of my like, okay, finally I get to listen to what I want with her.
Yes.
That's a little win.
At the end of the year, it's always a good reminder when like the Spotify or the
Spotify,
Apple,
Yes.
they do
Yes.
the most played song is, and for me it was Everyone Wants to Rule the World, but like the Despicable Me version, like the one that Gru sings.
Yes.
I play like
Like group.
Yeah, my
You know,
top,
Gru?
you know that guy. Yeah, in my top five, I had two of the artists were my kids' artists, and I'm like, this isn't even me.
No.
But
Yeah.
Okay, so let's introduce Betty. She is, like Karen mentioned, she's a content creator. She's a mom of three. She's also an educator. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up, transferring over that to social media?
yeah, so like you said, I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. When I started college, when I went into university, and even in high school, I used to always say, I want to be a news reporter or a teacher. And it was like two separate things, but it's like two things that I loved. I used to always say, I want to have my own TV show. When I was really little, I used to watch Sábado Gigante, and I used to be like, I want to be that one day. Or I would watch The Big Comfy Couch or Sesame Street and be like,
The Big Comfy
that.
Couch.
Yes, she was like my
What?
idol.
Big comfy couch.
When I was
Santa.
little, Lunette was my idol. I was like, that's what I want to be. I want to be on TV, but teaching. So when I started school, I ended up going the teaching route because back when I started college, social media wasn't that big yet and whatnot. And I would have a lot of people tell me, like, you're never going to make it with your Miami accent. If you want to go onto TV, you're going to have to get rid of that Spanish accent you have. And so I used to say, like, I never want to get rid of that. So I guess I might as well be a teacher.
Isn't it crazy the first time you realize you have an accent? I always say this story.
Yeah.
When I went to school in Tallahassee.
I went to FSU for
Me
2
too.
years.
My first
went
year,
for
and that
2
was the
years.
first time. It was like a wake up call. They're like, your accent is so cute.
Yes.
And I was like,
yes.
what accent?
Yes. That's when I realized.
I was in denial. I was obviously like, what happens to us? We just grow up thinking this is
normal. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I went to FSU, I was there for 2 years, and even like seeing the girls put their purses on the floor, like that was my big wake up call of like Miami isn't everything. So I was like, I guess I have to go the education route. I have an accent. I can't be on TV. Like,
That's
so
crazy.
yeah. So I stuck with education. I became a teacher. I'm very natural at it. I love teaching. I love special education. That's what I do, early childhood special education. But as social media started to grow, I was like, wait, now I could do both things. And I used to make videos here and there, like little things here and there. I was never consistent. I never really stuck with it until about a year and a half that I kind of started to find my voice as like,
First of all, let's give your handle so people could like look up stuff. and they
so
can find
I'm
you.
Betty Pastelitos, and I made that up in Tallahassee because I had to make a username for like a forum. And I was like, I want to show something that represents I'm from Miami. And I have like a very long
You
maiden.
really, like, you feel strongly about that.
Yes, yes. I was very like, and when I went to
Karen grew up
FSU
954, so I know
Okay,
she
okay,
like.
here we go.
she's up
I'm from the
north.
ranches.
Yeah. She's from up there. No, but I'm from Westchester, and I was like, I need people
Me
to
too.
know.
I grew up in Westchester.
I went to
too.
Coral Park.
I went to Coral Park
Oh
too.
my
God.
God! How did we never
Guys,
cross
welcome
paths?
to the most Miami moment that has ever happened on
Yes.
television.
You can't get more Miami than
This is the
Westchester.
most. Anyone
Yes.
not from Miami is like, I have no idea what just happened on this.
Yes, I'm from 97th Avenue and Coral Way. So
I have no idea where that is.
very close. So I wanted to make a username that like represented that I'm from Coral Park. And so I came up with Betty Pastelitos back in 2008, and that always stuck. Like that was always my username. So, and I embraced that. And now, like, as a teacher, because I was always like, do I want to talk more about being a mom? Do I want to be more informative and like make videos of like, these are 5 ways to help your kids speak more Spanish? Like, and I've just always been like, jodedora and like chistosa, like My dad's like that. My grandpa was like that. I was always, and to me, everything's a joke. The other day I was at a wedding, like just literally sitting there making everybody laugh. And I was like, don't take me to a funeral. This is just how I go through life. It's just
They should take you to a funeral, actually. Like,
everything's
it'd
a
be
joke
good.
to me.
Yeah.
So I started to find my voice more in like making funny content about being a teacher, being from Miami.
How old are your
like,
children? So I always feel like moms that end up creating content is always inspired by one of their children or something that they found like a gap that they didn't find that they needed for their own child.
Yeah, so my oldest is 11, and then I have a 3-year-old and a 2-month-old. So it's a little bit of everything, a little bit of everywhere. I do see gaps and things that I would like to talk about and like to see with my older one. But now that she's entering this age where I'm like, well, I don't want to put her information out there.
Yep.
There's like a lot that I want to talk about with her and find moms that are going through the same thing. And I'm like, in 3 or 4 years, she's going to be like, Mom, why'd you talk
Yeah.
about that? You know? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like treading lightly.
Well, we can talk to you about what it's like to be the oldest siblings with a really big age gap. Because I'm 12 years older than my brother, and you are 10 years older than her sister. And so, like, that between your oldest and your youngest, like, it's
Yeah.
a similar thing. But, like, just know that, like, the TLDR is that they will find their groove. They will bond eventually, like,
I hope.
in a really
Yeah.
amazing way, like, and have an
Yeah.
amazing relationship.
Well, I'm the youngest of 6, and
What?
my oldest and I are 25 years apart. So those age, but I am coming from the youngest perspective, and my husband too. He's the youngest of 6.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we both always wanted big families, and like to do the same until we had 3, and we're like,
You're like,
"No,
that's
this is
pretty
all
big."
we're giving you." I don't know how our parents did it, but this is
Yeah.
all you're getting.
It's different.
Yeah, different times.
Yeah. So you started finding your voice on social media.
Yeah, through like being a Miami teacher, a Miami mom, and the more I did like Miami teacher content, the more I realized like, wow, we're all going through the same thing. And then little by little also finding that like the Latina voice like
Yeah.
throughout the United States, because then I started getting messages like, I'm from New Jersey and we go through the same thing, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And so through there I started to find my voice as like a Latina mom, a millennial mom, a millennial teacher, a Miami teacher. So like all those things that make me, like, yeah, I'm unique, but there's so many other moms that we're all going through the same exact, and like can find humor and relatability
Yeah.
in even like what you were saying about like the traumas that we grew up with. Like even that
Like
we-
conversation pre-production, guys. Just
even those things like is humor.
yeah, it is.
Um,
Well, my
Is
therapist
it? I
is
don't
like,
know. Is
my
it?
Yeah.
therapist is constantly calling me out. She's like, Karen, you keep
Laughing.
She's like, your sense of humor is basically like como tapando tu trauma, and I'm like,
Yeah, now
that's
there's-
okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. Like,
Yeah, now there's like
Like, that's how I
a
survived.
trend.
I'm here.
Yeah, now there's a trend on Reels and TikTok about like quotations like, you're so funny, like, thanks, I grew up with a dad that used to get like
Yes.
and that's literally me now. Like I turn it all into humor and people laugh about it, people like it, so I'm gonna keep doing it.
yeah. You did a video. I was sharing it with some coworkers the other day, where you were doing like the choreography of a Miami like school or whatever, and
Oh,
then,
yeah.
and then you're like,
Yeah.
and now we're gonna do this pasito, and Willie Chirino's family is like
Yes.
right here with,
Yes.
and I was just dying the whole time in my desk, and like my coworkers probably like,
What
what's
is she
happening?
laughing about?
What?
Yeah,
She's not really
it's always
working.
the same songs, it's always the same moves.
Yes.
And as a teacher, on the teacher side, it's like we're always like, you guys gotta pay attention. Your parents are gonna be watching.
Yeah.
And they're just little kids at the end of the
Yeah,
day doing their thing. And then the day of the show comes and nobody's doing it right. They're all nervous.
Like, this reminds me of when you for its first show, where you were like,
First or second? First he did great. Second
oh, the
he's like
second one where
first.
she's like, I know he's gonna be a star. I mean, obviously, like, da, da, da. And then he didn't do it, and she was like, ah!
I was so pissed.
Oh, what
I
was
was
it?
not like, they're like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay. No, I'm like, and then he felt so bad that then he was like, look, mom, when we're like alone waiting for the car, he was like, we're on the way. I'm like, I don't want to see it now. I don't want to see it now. Like, we're on the way to the farm, like my
No.
grandpa's farm or whatever. I'm like, I don't want to see it now. Like,
is
he did
it?
okay.
Too late now.
Yeah, it's too late. Tell us about your books. I know
Yes.
you're also published.
Yeah, so as a teacher, and I've tutored thousands of kids. The other day I was telling my husband, I was like, you know, my first tutoring client was when I was in 5th grade and he was in 1st grade, and they had just gotten here from Cuba and the mom just did not know how to help him. And I was like, I literally started tutoring when I was in
Aw,
grade.
so it's
And
like
then
it's in your DNA, like.
yeah, and when I was in middle school, I used to help the high schooler that just came from Cuba
Aw.
to do her work, and I used to be like, "Look at
Okay,
me
so you
doing high
definitely have a
school."
gift and you have patience because I've tried to tutor my own sister and it was like,
Unfortunately, me
I
and my best
can't.
friend joke about like we hate that we're so good with kids because like why can't we be good at like banking? But it's my gift is the connection I can do with kids.
Oh, it's so nice.
And yeah, thank you. And as a teacher and as a tutor, I used to always be like, but why isn't there a book about this and this and that? And why can't I find a book to help kids do this and this and that? So as I like one day I was just like, I'm gonna make them. I'm gonna write them.
Right,
I'm gonna
of
write the
course,
books
yes.
that now in public schools, the Spanish language program is like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. It wasn't written by teachers. And so as a teacher, I would like literally be making up my own things, like to fill in those gaps of like, they want second graders reading complete, like second grade literature in Spanish. And it's like at the end of the day, like we speak to our kids in Spanish, and for as much as like our kids can be completely fluent in Spanish, but if they didn't grow up with like Spanish grammar, Spanish language, Spanish, it's not the same to like be completely fluent speaking to your grandparents all day to then go read like
Yeah.
a
Conjugate
third
verbs in
yeah,
Spanish. Yeah.
to then go read Charlotte's Web in Spanish. It's
Right.
not the same thing. So I was like, it needs to start more basic. So I started writing workbooks. And then I learned how to publish them and I learned how to make them. And I started finding like, okay, what do we need? And I started writing those books. I started publishing them on Amazon, but now I'm moving to my own website, which will
Great.
probably launch maybe before this podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. So I figured out how to start writing them on my own. And yeah, filling in those holes there, but especially in Spanish.
At what time do you do all of this? You have 3 children.
Well, I had more time when I had 2. And with my second, I did stay home for a year with her. So I found a lot of time then. I would literally be nursing and like doing my click clack away.
Yeah.
Or while she was napping on top of me, those contact naps, and I'm here with the laptop like up
No,
here
that's
trying
that's
to.
because you really wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
you had to have been really passionate about that.
Thank you. I was.
Yeah.
And then the other project that I started, and then I went back to work as a teacher. So I haven't been able to keep up with it as much as everybody. I got so many messages about like, you should do Miss Rachel in Spanish. You should do Miss Rachel in Spanish. And I was like, I can't sing like her. And my husband isn't a Broadway director, so I can't do that. But I did start making some YouTube videos for kids in
Right.
Spanish. And that's like my next, like as
that's
soon as I'm
awesome.
done migrating my books to my own website, as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to jump back to my YouTube for Spanish for kids. It's not going to be, of course, like Miss Rachel, because I can't sing and do all of that. But I do want somewhere.
Right, it's gonna be like with purpose and education
Yes.
focus and
Yeah, and
I
Spanish.
hate it
or
by the way when I
Spanglish.
search educational videos and I get all these like kids running around their houses. Like, I'm not even gonna mention that because I'm not gonna promote them.
Yes.
But it's like Miami. They're actually in Miami.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I just did that. Anyhow, and Ford loves them because they're so
don't know what
they're
Yes.
just like- and they're like multimillionaires.
Yes. Yes.
course you
and
know
it's
who
supposed
they
to
are.
be educational.
Yes,
But
there has
no.
to be a way to filter that also. Like this is not. They barely even talk. They're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, obviously, my kids like, nonverbal at this
I
age.
really
Like,
live under a rock. I have no idea what you guys are talking
Good.
about.
If you don't know it, keep it that
good,
way.
because then he goes into this like black hole of like looping into that type of videos, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty much kids doing pranks with their parents.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, like all day, every day, in their like
Okay.
luxury cars and like mansions because of YouTube. But good
You know
for
what
them.
Victoria discovered recently on YouTube? So she loves these books that are like the elephant and pig.
Oh, yeah.
books. I love those stories too. And so there's all these like YouTube videos of the books being read.
Yes, I
So
use
that's
And
I
she
love
yeah.
that.
loves it. She
Yeah.
loves it. So, and I love it. And like,
Me too.
and I'm like, this is so much easier than me reading it to you. But then I
Okay, I
read it.
love hearing that because that's what I want my YouTube to be is me reading books to kids. But
Yes.
all of it is the way that I read to my students.
Mhm.
And then all of it focus on like making it fun, not just like reading and it being
Yeah.
boring because
Yeah.
I can't do anything boring.
No,
I
no,
love that.
no.
I love that.
I
Ford loves
would
that.
not
Kids love
expect.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a mystery reader last week,
They love it.
They love it, and
They
they, love
love
when
it.
you ask in between. I was like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
read this pigeon goes on the roller coaster.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cute. About, and then like, okay, well, who loves to roll on the roller coasters? And they're like, me. And
Yes.
who loves whatever? So they like the interaction of it too. And then Forrest's obsessed with picking people to ask questions. Are you into that? When
No.
we play pretend and we play teacher, he's like, okay, I'm the teacher and I'm going to get to pick. And it's always like my mom, myself, the nanny. He's like, mommy. And my mom is like, hello.
I'm
Like,
here to
and
raising
in
my
class, it's
hand.
the same way. He only speaks his friends. He's like, Lane.
How cute. I like that.
It's cute. But Spanish has been a real struggle for me
It is.
because
And
I never
you're
in
not
a
alone.
1,000 years thought, and I've spoken about this before. I used to judge so much, like, ay, que crimen, que este niño no habla español, assuming their parents weren't strict with it. I have been so strict with it and so persistent and consistent. Like in my house, no one speaks English, but my nanny doesn't speak English. My mom barely, I think. I don't know. I never knew because I found that as an adult that she spoke English because she only spoke Spanish to us. My sister and I both speak obviously perfect Spanish. I only speak Spanish to him. He started school and like
English.
English.
Yeah.
He understands everything because even the dad would like to be funny, will ask him to like he'll put a novela and be like, oh, can you tell me what they're saying? And like he'd be like, oh yeah, she's saying that she's really mad because the bad lady. I don't know if it's funny.
Yeah.
So obviously he understands it.
He knows
completely,
it.
and he
Yeah,
can
yeah,
translate
yeah.
it into English, but he's refusing to like communicate in Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we talked about this in the DMs a little bit. The biggest thing is for us, for what are we, second generation, it was really easy because we had no choice. We had to speak Spanish. There was no way out of it. Like I knew that there was my grandparents, no matter how much English I spoke, weren't gonna understand it. But our kids know that we know English. So that's one hurdle. The other hurdle is all the English on TV and how like the easy access that they have to English on TV. You have to be so strict with that from day one.
Yeah.
I had a language teacher in college that she told me she used to only put the Disney movies in Spanish to her daughter.
I try to do it too, and like right away he was like, I don't want to watch this. What is this? Fix it. Like fix it.
Fix it. Yeah, well, I don't know how they catch on so quickly. I know that she had told us that when her daughter went to a play date when she was like 5 and she watched Cinderella in English, she came home and she was like, Mami, Cinderella sabe hablar inglés. Like that was her first time finding out that Cinderella spoke English.
Like a Cinderella.
And I was always like, that's how I'm going to be. That's how I'm going to be. And it was the same thing with my daughter, with my 3-year-old. As soon as she started school is when she started speaking English. And I don't know why they find it to be like easier or cooler or funner. I don't know what it is there, but it's like they somehow know that they could just get away with speaking English. And my suegra lives with us. And my daughter knows like that my suegra, she does not know a lick of English. And she knows like inglés con español con mamá, and that she can get away with English with us. And I don't know what it is because it's like we are perfectly bilingual. We are perfectly like we could do both. And I don't know if it's that, for example, my husband, sometimes when he's mad, he'll just jump to the English or whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, the music I listen to is all in Spanish. I literally only listen to Spanish. But I do watch TV in English. Like when I want to watch a show, right now I'm watching Dubai Bling. So it's in English and in Arabic. So I don't know what it is about that. Like our generation our kids' generation isn't exposed to Spanish as much as we were.
Right, I guess I always had a novela in the back or Sábado Gigante or something like I
yeah. And so, and also what I think it is too, and like just talking again about like we tread so lightly in how we raise our kids. Like, so for example, we give our kids a lot of leeway in like what to pick to watch, what to listen to the car and whatnot. Like when we were little, we did not have those choices.
No.
And like how I let my kids take over my Spotify, my parents would not have allowed that.
No.
Like it was always what my parents wanted to listen to on the radio. And it was
I
like,
always laugh when they put like, why did we think it was okay to listen to? And it was like that 90s, very sexual salsa.
yes.
Lluvia.
Yes.
Fría como la
I like
lluvia.
it.
Me too, but I was saying that I mean, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
So just like,
Yeah.
so that was like a very...
Yeah, I think our
90s
generation
salsa.
was more forced to listen to and be around Spanish a lot more
there's
than
no
our
gentle
kids
parenting
were.
there.
And there was no gentle parenting.
None of
Yeah,
this.
forced, literally forced, and everything we were exposed to, you know? So like all the news that I watched growing up was in Spanish. Like everything, like, yeah, we got to listen to like to pick our English and whatnot, but it was that thing of like, I don't know about you, but for me, I wasn't exposed to English until I was 5.
Same.
Now my kids are being exposed to English at
Earlier.
like 3.
Younger,
Yeah.
You know, so and then
So
once
cute. The
they,
other day, 4 was I realized that he calls the news trabajo. He's like, "Do you want to watch trabajo?"
Oh my
Trabajo.
God.
I work in the
Oh,
news.
yeah.
So cute. I was like, because it was like another news network. It was like the headlines.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, do you want to watch a little trabajo?" And I'm like, "No, baby, it's okay."
Aw.
It's so funny how they like,
Yeah.
but he calls it trabajo. Like that's a Spanish
And
word
he said, yeah, the
uses.
Spanish
Yeah.
word. And I think also like what they see as cool. So for example, like the families that they like to watch on TV, on YouTube are watching it in English and they see it. What was my daughter seeing yesterday that they were speaking Spanish? I think it was the news too. And the girl was speaking Spanish and me and my suegra were like, tú ves, hay que hablar en español. Los dos son buenos. Or like my daughter, she loves Shakira, the 3-year-old. And so we show her like, mira, Shakira habla en español también, because now she's refusing to speak English, even though she's refusing to speak Spanish, even though we're very like, you have to know them both. You have to
And
speak
it's
them
funny,
both.
like, how do you survive with your nanny? But then I
Yeah.
realized he knows the basic. Por favor,
Yeah.
yogur, plátano. Like, I mean, he speaks like a 1-year-old with like,
Oh,
you know what I
with
mean?
the
Like
nanny.
the basic Spanish. To survive.
Yeah. But has he like forgotten Spanish or he's just...
I just feel like when he became super verbal, it was all in English.
It went straight to English.
Yeah, it went
Yeah.
straight to
Yeah.
English. Like,
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
it was always very basic Spanish.
Yeah. I know you asked me for a
Express it. I know
tutor
he
in
understands.
Spanish, and honestly, off the top of my head right now, I don't have anybody available.
Mm-hmm.
But his best tutor is his nanny. Like his best tutor is
Then
gonna
I'm
be
always
the
like,
nanny.
if I'm away, I'm always like, ¿puedes hablar más con él? Like, I want like more dialogue, more conversation, more, you know? And
Yeah.
I feel like she's
Yeah,
doing
the best
she can.
tutor,
I don't.
the best tutor is gonna be that immersion. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be more than just an hour a couple times a week or whatever. It's gonna be that immersion and that showing them that like it's cool, it's normal.
No, the other
it's
day I'm like
not-
standing across the room when he's playing basketball with my mom outside. Mom is like, "Good job." I go, I came out of that kitchen like, "No le hables en inglés."
Yes,
Like,
the-
I just said good job. Like, with the
No,
little
no
accent.
deje.
No, le digas nada en inglés. Not like, forget about the English. Like, of
Yeah.
course, because then she'll fall into the, you know.
And so yeah.
I mean, you're letting this 4-year-old like.
Yeah,
you know,
the
manipulate you.
toddler she does a lot of like, if my suegra says a word in English, like any iPad, she'll be like, "Mamá sabe," and I'm like,
Just
"No,
like
that's
waiting
all
for that
she
moment. I
needs."
got her. I got her.
I got her.
I
She
knew it.
knows.
You're
Wow.
Yeah.
Victoria is still very bilingual. She definitely speaks a lot of English now, and I think it's becoming her default. Her default was Spanish always.
No, but I think Victoria has a great foundation that I think is gonna be very hard for her to like forget that.
So now she's like really into like writing me letters and stuff. So she'll like write stuff, like leave me a note under the door of the bathroom or whatever. And
It's
so
crazy. She's writing. I can't. I
know.
can't even. Because
so-
she's exactly a year old from my son.
They
So
change
it's
a lot of
it's
things.
a lot.
nice-
It happens
it's a
very
nice
fast.
preview to
Yeah.
be like.
I know. I
even
always
looked
tell
at
her
him
like,
at 3 and then at 4. And by the
That's
way,
why-
you love 4 too, right?
Huh?
You love 4 years old.
I did. Yeah.
I love 4.
loving 4.
I love
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he loves so hard and he's so expressive.
Yes.
And he also when he gets mad, his threats are so.
I mean, now I'm
Like,
getting to
but
that
crazy,
delusional
but it's
point
so
though, where
cute.
I'll be like, I loved everything because everything was perfect. Now she's big. I'm falling into that like
The trap of like, I
Yeah.
can do this again. Yes.
I don't know about that. But she's been practicing, like she writes me these letters, but now I realize that sometimes she writes them in Spanish. So she tries to write them in Spanish, and it's crazy the way she like starts like trying to come up with the sound of the word and the letters or whatever. Like she's doing it. I mean,
I
it
love
obviously
that.
none of it is like correct, but she's on her way and she's trying to do it. And
It's
so
all
it's very
correct.
fun. Yeah.
All right.
It's so fun to
Developmentally,
watch.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important. I laugh about when people, and I get it, when people joke about like, my baby's 26 months versus my baby's 22. No, because those
there's a
months
difference.
matter. Just say 2 years old.
Yeah.
But I understand why, because from 4 to 5, that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
I used to, even as a teacher, and like, I love child development. And even then, my daughter and my niece, they're a year apart, and I would look at my niece and be like, the same exact thing that you just did, like, what? She's gonna be doing that?
Yeah.
And yes, before you know it,
Yeah.
he's gonna be writing you letters too.
Yeah.
Even
the
though
best.
he
I
got
have
mad,
like a
he goes,
stack. It's
I'm gonna
so great.
find a new house.
Oh, God.
Oh, okay, yeah, go for it.
He's
Good
not
luck.
like- I'm like, you watch Home Alone one time, and you're
And now
getting
you
all these
wanna
crazy
go.
ideas. I'm like, no, you can't live by yourself. Stop being crazy.
goodness.
Is it hard to come up with funny content when you're not feeling, when you're not in the mood?
Yes, Absolutely, absolutely. Which is why I always like, I'll think of something funny and I'll be like, ha ha ha, and I write it in my notes. I have like 3 separate notes of like all the time that I'm like, oh my God, I have to make a video about this one little thing. And then what's harder is when you're not in the mood is to get in the mood to
Yeah.
like get in front
Yeah.
of the camera, which happens a lot, especially now with 3 kids.
Yeah.
There are a lot
Is
of
it like
days.
one video that went viral? Like, what was like the
How
one
did it
video where you
happen?
realized,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is like,
So honestly, it happened a couple times, and like I said earlier, what was hard for me was the consistency to stay consistent. When COVID first started, I had a video that went pretty viral where I said like teachers calling attendance 5 years from now, which is crazy to think is this year.
It's now. Yeah.
It's
that is
this
insane.
year.
That's
What?
so crazy.
Yes.
Wait,
I
can you
keep thinking
continue?
COVID
What
was
else
last
did you
year.
say?
Sorry.
So I was like pretending to like do attendance, and I was like, go is lazy. And then the next thing was like, what was it? There was one about toilet paper, like a toilet paper name, or like I was saying like Lysol Miguel and like things like that. And I was going, so that one went pretty viral. And then like maybe like 6 months later, I did another one, and then like a couple months later. So it was very like, and then
Sporadically.
it was very sporadic. And then when I went back to teaching, which was something I never thought I'd do in a million years, was to go back into the classroom.
What grade did you teach?
So before I was out of the classroom, I did 2nd grade. I was also in 5th grade. And in the summers, I always forget that I did this. But in the summers, I was teaching English to international students, adults, which was like literally adults from Italy, Saudi Arabia, from everywhere. And then I left the classroom to work at UM to teach teachers how to use different tools for kids with special needs. And then I left that, and for a year I was home with my daughter. And then the school that I work at now, I've known the director since I was born. My older brother has Down syndrome, and she was his first teacher when he was 2 years old. So she's known me since I was born. And she got, they hadn't had a littles class in a while. And then she was going to have 4 5-year-olds with Down syndrome come to the school, and she called my mom to be like, I want Betty to be the teacher. And I went in very like, I'm gonna give her the most ridiculous offer. I'm gonna give her a number that I know she's not gonna be able to pay me. I'm gonna tell her I have to leave early to pick up my other kids from school. And when she told me like 3 little girls with Down syndrome, I was like, you're tugging at my heart.
The heartstrings.
And
Yeah.
I was still like, and I gave her this offer. She was like, okay. And I was like, what? You really want me to do this? And so I got into the classroom, and then I love my job. Like, I hate how much I love my job. I love it because
That's so amazing.
yeah, I love my students. I miss them so much. And my husband was telling me, he's like, if you want to stay home for another year with a baby, you can. And I'm like, but my work babies. I love my work babies so much.
Yeah.
So through teaching, I started, like, I made one funny video and it kicked off. And I was like, let me like hone in on this, right? Because I could do both things, right?
Yeah.
Like be a teacher and make content. Like now at the beginning of this conversation, I told you guys how I wanted to either be a teacher or have my own talk show. Now I have both. Like now I have found a way in this day and age where I can have both. Like I have that like la disposición, like right at my fingertips.
Yeah,
where
you
I
have
can,
all the tools, you have the time, you have the
and I don't have to leave my students. And at school, they love it. Like my director, like sometimes like when they have visits and whatever, she's like, and here's our influencer teacher. And I'm like, oh my God, don't say that. But yeah.
Here's my handle.
You're like, but also
Yeah, but yes, I'm very Pastelitos. No, we had somebody come like check the fire alarm thing, and the lady walks into the classroom. She's like, oh my God. And I was like, hi, this is me. So I'm able to do both. I don't have to leave my students who I literally adore. And I could still connect with moms and in the way that I know how, which is through humor. And so as soon as one kicked off, I was like, okay, people really like this. And it just like snowballed into now I'm able to literally do both things that I love.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you. Like, what a
Thank you.
beautiful kind of like development of all these things.
Yeah. And as a teacher too, like we have our summers, we have our
Yeah.
spring breaks. So I'm
That's
like,
so
I
great.
get those like times to then
Those
like
perks as
focus.
well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now that I'm on maternity leave, I can come here and do things like this.
Yeah.
So
How old is your little one?
2 months. He's about to be 3 months.
No,
yeah.
bebe.
Today was
So
like the
cute.
first long day that I left him with my suegra because when I do go back to work, she's gonna take over. So now I'm like, okay, this is like her little trial run
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cute, little
Yeah.
baby. I have a 2-month-old baby.
Yes.
She's
yes.
a baby fever
Oh
hardcore.
my God, I know.
Do it. Do it. Do
Yeah,
it.
so cute. Is it a big difference between 2 and 3?
Yeah, we were just talking about it right before. Yes. The change between 2 and 3 was a lot. So I met my husband in high school, and we always knew we were gonna get married one day. But then like life took me on a different path, and God knew I needed my older daughter, and he gave her to me before I got with my husband officially. So I had my older daughter, and then 4 or 5 years later, me and my husband finally got together. And then I had my second one when my older one was 8.
Mhm.
So my husband is stepdad. So there was the 8-year difference, which the transition honestly wasn't that hard. And everybody's like, oh, your older one must help so much. She doesn't. She's in her own world.
Yeah,
She
which
doesn't
is
help.
fine.
Which
too.
is
is
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
good
with
to
things
put all
like
that pressure
bring
on
me
the older siblings.
Yeah.
100%.
We're here on behalf of the older siblings.
Yeah, we
Yes.
yes. on the older children generation that we're not moms, but
Yeah.
like, it's a lot of pressure and like we
Yeah.
love it, but like
Yeah.
No,
it was a
she
big
doesn't.
load.
It is. And she really isn't like maternal like that or anything.
Mhm.
The 3-year-old is. The 3-year-old thinks the baby
wasn't
is
either.
hers.
I was not. Were you maternal with your sister?
I was very protective and I wanted her to
I feel
wanted
like you
her
were
to-
like
I was very strict with it, but I wanted to have an easier life than I did.
yeah.
That for sure. Like I bought her
like
a new
that,
car
like,
when she graduated.
mommy
you know,
vibes.
College. I
Like-
bought her, I made sure she went away for college. I set up her dorm. Like
My
I
older sister's
understood
like
the
that with me.
The system, and it was so hard for me to navigate it because
Yeah.
my mom really didn't know how to do it. I made sure that it was easier for her.
Yeah.
That I could guarantee. Like
That I
and
can
everything.
relate to,
Even
but,
going
like-
to the workplace. Even
You're gonna make me
now.
cry
I know,
because
I
that's my
know.
older sister with
I
me.
know.
My older sister
Yeah.
did that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Nanny because that was definitely her. I mean, so my older one, she like when we brought the baby home, she was like, "But when is she gonna be a kid?" Like she was just like, "I just want to play with her and scream and run around with her."
Oh my God.
So that transition was easy, honestly. But now with 3, it's been tough. Like it's been tough, tough, tough. Especially since the second one, he has like aside and all these things that I never had to like deal with. And I
Plus, you're
tell
gonna go into preteen years with.
with the older one. And so now having a 3-year-old and a newborn at home, that's been tough. Those
Yeah.
people that do 2 under 2, 3 under 3, like my heart goes out to you
Yeah.
because like, how did you do that? So I with and I tell my husband now, I'm like, had I not had the older one, do you think we would have done 3 back to back? Like, because
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
easy. And especially like something that's so easy is my mom, like her baby is my older one. My suegra, her baby is the middle one.
Yeah.
So now I'm like,
Who's this
gonna-
baby?
Who's gonna take the little one? Somebody take him, please.
Wow. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, Betty, for coming. This was super, super great. Remind everybody, please, where they can find you and follow you.
Yeah, so on TikTok and Instagram, Betty Pastelitos, my YouTube channel. I'm not gonna say it yet because it's not ready. There
Yeah.
are some videos there. There's actually a piggy, an elephant and piggy book.
Yay! Well, once it's
So-
ready, you let us know and we'll share it on our
Yeah,
socials.
and
of
I
course.
will share it on my socials too when
Yeah.
it's up there. But Betty Pastelitos on Instagram and TikTok.
Amazing.
By the way, I would totally recommend her page because it's a perfect balance. I think we need a
Thank
little bit
you.
of humor when we're like
Yeah. I've
in
been
the middle
lots of
like,
humor lately.
yes,
Yeah.
of like our ups and downs. So it's a
Thank
great
you.
read. We're so grateful for you.
Yes.
And also it's educational. So it's a
Yeah,
lot of
thank
tips,
you.
and she's being vulnerable and sharing her own personal journey,
Especially
as well.
how to
So
make Cuban coffee the right way.
I saw that, but I was like, I don't even own this stuff to know.
was
this.
like,
I'm like, skip it.
Oh, I would have
skipped it.
brought it.
I
I
know.
need that.
So thank you so much.
Thank
for joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Till next time.